The Right Side with Doug Billings.
The pinnacle, the highest example of human dignity is human life. And we stand for life over here at all stages. I personally believe in human dignity of life at all stages of life, whether you're an unborn baby or whether you're an elderly person, whether you're a criminal incarcerated in jail. You still have the divine spark, the gift of life that God has given you. You still have dignity of life. And although for some who have made bad choices, we will hold you accountable to those. But life itself is always sacred. And life itself, for us conservatives, my friends, is always a winning issue. I want to be clear about that because there are, shall I say, certain weak-minded people who claim to be Republicans who say, Doug, stay away from abortion, will you? Stay away. It's a losing issue for us. I don't want to talk about it. The liberals are going to just beat us up about it. So no, thank you very much. Life is not a loser for us. Life is always a winning issue. It is always a winning issue. When we discuss it, we automatically have the moral high ground, saving lives, ladies and gentlemen. Saving, when you look at the most vulnerable of life, the unborn human baby, wow. Yeah, it's always a winner for us. Now, we might need to rebrand our approach as conservatives, and I think we do with regards to that. But life itself is a winning issue for us, and we need leaders in the political arena who are brave enough to admit that and say it out loud. Don't cower away from the life issue. That is not what we need. We need to double down on our defense of it, to build up the culture of life, to build up the kingdom of heaven on earth, and to allow God's most precious and sacred right that he gives us, the right to life, once again, flourish in this country. And I think as far as the rebranding goes, you know, our approach to women as a conservative movement needs to be rebranded, perhaps. We need to make sure that women who find themselves in unwanted pregnancies are taken care of. And when I was, you know, I talked about running, well, I did, governor of Kansas, all right? If I were governor, if I'm given my permission to dream a little bit, if I'm the governor of any state, Kansas, where I live, whatever, day one, executive order, the Women's Protection Executive Order, the Women's Act, where I will protect the Right to Life Act, the sacred Right to Life Executive Order, where I will use the money that we find in the KDOJ. And by the way, if your state where you live, if you do not have a DOJ, a Department of Government Efficiency in your state government, you need to advocate to get one. Advocate to your governor, because the governor in your state needs what Elon Musk did at the federal level to find billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse so that you can earmark some of that money, talk to the legislature, get them to earmark it for these women who are in unwanted pregnancy situations. And then tell them, we will take care of you. Okay, this issue is so important to us. We want to put you up in a world-class facility. We've got the money now to pay for it. We'll help pay for the birthing of your baby if you don't have insurance and so forth and so on. And if you need a place to stay, here we are for you. We will take care of you, and we're going to take care of your child. And after your time with us, if you still don't want that baby, we have a series of people who have been vetted, who are good Christian parents who will adopt your baby. And that's the message we need to drive. That's a win for everybody, ladies. How could anyone combat that? Where's the flaw? What would the liberals? I mean, they'll find a way, of course. I know I'm being a little bit of a rhetorical question there, but they will find a way to find holes in it. But that's the care. That's the rebranding that we need. And then, by the way, not just the women that we need to rebrand our response. We need to rebrand our response to the men and hold them accountable, because women don't find themselves in unwanted pregnancies just all by themselves. There's somebody else involved, and we need to hold men accountable to the virtue and the role of fatherhood as well. And so that's what we strive to do. That's the virtue of life. And I guess for me, I'm a father of two sons. One is a 32-year-old young man, off on his own, married, living his own life, Grant, and love him dearly. And the other one is Michael, 23-year-old young man who has Down syndrome. Michael, thankfully, is very high functioning. He has a job, he has friends, he has a girlfriend. But there are people on the radical left that when they look at that situation, they would say, well, why didn't you should have just aborted Michael. Michael, the whole Down syndrome thing, if you're prenatally diagnosed with a Downs baby, the radical left said, it's just an inconvenience. Just get rid of it. You shouldn't have to worry. Folks, I've got news for you. I have spoken extensively from the stage in faith groups about this and to parent groups. These young people, these children, when you're pre-diagnosed with a Down syndrome or with any disability, I speak about Downs because it's my personal experience. I would not change a thing. I would not change a thing about Michael. Now, at the beginning, when I was first given that note, Michael was born. We went through all the normal prenatal tests. We were never told of Down syndrome until the moment he was born. And 1,000,001 thoughts went through my head. Can I handle this? Is he going to live? Is he going to have friends? Can I handle this? Will he go to school? Can I handle this? Is he going to get married? Will he play sports? Can I handle this? So you see the recurring selfish thought of whether or not I can handle it. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, to the nth degree, yes, 1,000,000 times yes, I can handle it. They don't have venom. They have no prejudices. They're almost always happy. There is no inconvenience really at all. They will never be dependent on drugs. They will never harm. They are always, the extra chromosome, I call it the divine chromosome. Trisomy 21 is the official name of Down syndrome. They have an extra 21st chromosome. And folks, if we each had a little bit of what they have in them, the world would be a better place. It's as if God said, here's how you all should be, by the way. I'm giving you a glimpse into how I expect you all to treat one another. Well, they do it. And so I guess the thought for me to think that the radical left would choose to abort these people is so gruesome and so barbaric that when I see issues of life being championed and won, like I read a story in Maine that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, but I wanted to give you this backdrop because this is how I approach it. This is my worldview in part with regards to abortion. I believe that God does not make mistakes, that we are given incredible opportunities for gift when we think that we're presented with adversity, challenge, and tragedy. And today, as we broke, telling you a little bit of, giving you a glimpse into my private life, my personal life with my sons, Grant, who I love, I couldn't be prouder of a son, and then Michael, who has Down syndrome, who's 23, and juxtaposing that with regards to the radical liberal movement's agenda to just create this culture of death that we have and that we see. And, suggesting to all of us throughout the country, no matter where you are, that we should advocate to our political leaders, people that are in the elected class, that we need to rebrand our approach to life in terms of how we deal with women who find themselves in unwanted pregnancies and to hold men accountable to their roles as father. And we can do that from a place of positivity. We can do it from a place of accountability, and we can do it from a place of life, reaffirming the value of the most significant and the primary right that God himself has given us, the right of life. So, I was telling you about how Michael is and my response, the divine chromosome, how Down syndrome's official name is trisomy 21. These kids have an extra 21st chromosome. This little addition I call the divine chromosome because it makes them just like what they are. They have no venom. They have no prejudices. They're almost always happy. Now, they can have a day, don't get me wrong, but they're almost always happy. They take joy in the simple. They don't have addictive personalities and so forth and so on. They want to greet you with a hug, and they value you. They value friendship, and it's just touching. So if the Lord were to come down and say, Doug, hey, you've been a great servant, great friend, I'd be happy to make Michael a typical kid for you if you'd like. I would get down on my knees and thank the Lord and say, no, thank you. What you have made here is perfect, just the way he is. Michael, with everything that he's got, is perfect. And, that's the message the radical liberal movement misses. And that is a sad fact. That does not make my heart happy. that the radical left liberal movement cannot understand that there is beauty in everything. And that we see everything as a gift. That's another thing. Really, truly, we conservatives, everyone here, everyone listening to my voice now has had moments in their life where they have had to go through tragedy, adversity, or challenge. Every one of us. You think about it, whether it's the death of a loved one, a divorce, whatever it may be. Adversity, challenge, and tragedy. We are able to know and understand that in the midst of those moments, there are blessings that are waiting to be born. And we don't just give up. We don't cave in. We don't blame God. We understand. Now, there might be moments where we're mad at God. Don't confuse. I understand that, and that's legitimate. We have a relationship with God, and in relationships, sometimes you can become angry with the other person. That's legitimate. But we don't ultimately condemn God for what we've experienced as conservatives. We understand that this is an imperfect world. We understand that bad things happen to good people. We understand that there's this thing called free will, where we can make choices and we can do good or bad, and that sometimes there are victims in life. When I was 24 years old, I was driving home with my then fiance, Tricia. She was 23, I was 26, and we were hit by a drunk driver. On my side of the car, by the back door, driver's side, the car spun around, we hit a streetlight pole. On her side, now we both had our seatbelts in, but her head hit the pole of the streetlight, and she suffered a severe head trauma. And for 3 years, I stayed with her while she was in a coma. And when she woke up, she was obviously going to be always impaired for the rest of her life, never able to fully care for herself, never able to once again communicate with anybody. And she lingered like that for 26 years. Now, her wonderful family, after 3 years, said, you got to go on, you got to get on with your life. So I did. But I'll never forget her. I'll never forget Tricia, and her life was taken away. Now, some people might just blame God and say, how could you let that happen? Why does your loving God? See, the thing is, God doesn't allow these things to happen. These are accidents that are rooted in free will primarily, but also in a world that has fallen. And so we have a choice. We have a choice either to respond to God and ask for help to get through those moments, or we can reject him altogether and just try to do it on our own and succumb to anger and depression and sadness and so forth without the belief of faith. And people do, and they think God is responsive. If you had a loving God, this would have never happened, which really means that those people are talking about some sort of a utopian environment where nothing bad ever happens. And ladies and gentlemen, if that were ever possible, we would all be less than what we are. Imagine living in a world where nothing bad ever happened to you, where you were presented with no adversity, no challenge, no tragedy. You wouldn't become any better. You wouldn't get any better. You would be stagnant. Why do you think, and I used to play tennis, why do athletes in tennis, just as an example, why do you want to play somebody better than you? Because that's how we get better. You get better by facing adversity, by facing challenge and tragedy. And the gift of being able to see the blessings that are yet unborn is a gift of faith, I grant you, but it's critical and it's common within the minds and the hearts and the souls of conservatives. We get it. We see it. And so when we do see everything that comes our way, my son, Michael, born with Down syndrome, my fiance of almost 40 years ago, we were in that drunk driving accident. If I were allowed to just mope and see no hope, if I were a person who said, there is nothing that came of this, there is no good, if I didn't see both of those events as a gift, and I'm using the word gift on purpose, because we are gifted those moments, even though they are tragic. And when we are able to see the blessings that are there waiting to be born, that is where the blessings are born. That's the moment that the blessings become born. And that's the moment where we become grateful. And yes, a lot of this happens through hindsight. You have to get through the moment, the tragedy, adversity, and challenge, and then you kind of look back and you notice, yes, I saw the hand of God here, and here, and he guided me over there, and with that, and with this person. And then you become grateful for the event itself. That's gratitude. And ladies and gentlemen, Grateful people are the happiest people on the planet. I believe it. 100% I believe that.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.